What you didn't know is that too much happiness can hurt you. No one likes to be cranky, but it turns out that negative feelings have a slew of surprising perks. A Harvard Medical School psychologist explains why making peace with our anger, fear, and sadness can usher in a more authentic sort of joy. You see, a bad mood isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can lead you to problem solve in fresh and creative ways. Remember the smiley face button? Well, in this digital age, the smiley face morphed into the emojis and emojicons that pop up everywhere. But wait a minute. Isn't happiness where we are? Isn't happiness good for us? Wouldn't we all rather be slap happy all the time? Ha 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 ha. Positive emotion is linked to lower risk of various psychological illness, including depression, anxiety, and personality disorder. Positive emotions drive us to success, and we live longer. Positive emotions lead to positive outcomes. Now, considering this, you must think happiness ranks right up there with food and sunshine. But it's possible to have too much of a good thing, to not only be too happy, but also experience the wrong type of happiness, and to go about trying to find happiness in the wrong ways and at the wrong time. Not that it's better to go around in a funk all the time, but we must keep our pursuit of happiness in perspective and to see our negative emotions in a new way and a more accepting way. Actually, describing negative emotions as negative only perpetuates the myth that these useful feelings are, negative. Yes, there is a downside of happiness. When we are overly cheerful, we tend to neglect important threats to dangers. Actually, being too happy can kill you. You might engage in riskier behaviors like drinking too much, or smoking too much, or binge eating, or skipping your birth control, or using any kind of drugs too much. An excess of free-willing giddiness and an absence of sober emotions can even be a marker for mania, a dangerous symptom of psychological illness. People with high happiness levels exhibit levels that are actually more rigid. That's because mood affects the way our brains process information. When life is good and the environment is safe and familiar, we tend not to think long and hard about anything too challenging, which helps explain why highly positive people can be less creative than those with a more moderate level of positive emotion. They call it the halo effect, the everything is awesome mood. We then jump into many wrong and unsafe conclusions. Our so-called negative emotions encourage slower, more systematic cognitive processing. Negative emotions help us to rely less on quick conclusions and to pay more attention to subtle details that matter. Are you having a low energy day? Well, you may be a better listener that day. People with less exuberant moments are more cautious and considerate and more likely to engage in non-conscious social mimicry, in which we mirror another person's gestures and speech without knowing it, a behavior that increases social bonding. When we're feeling great, we're much more assertive, which often means we're focused more on me, and might ignore what others have to offer or what others are going through. In short, chasing after happiness can be just as self-defeating as brooding or bottled up emotions. It's another coping mechanism for discomfort with negative emotions and our unwillingness to endure anything even remotely associated with the dark side. Good news about bad news. While it's certainly not healthy to constantly stew in negative emotions, there are some positive things that sadness, anger, and guilt or fear can do. Bad moods help you form arguments. You're more likely to use concrete and tangible information, to be more attuned to the situation at hand, and to be less prone to making judgment errors, all of which lead to an aura of expertise and authority that can make you a more persuasive writer or more persuasive listener. Bad moods can improve your memory. One study found that shoppers were more apt to remember more information about the interior of a store on cold, gloomy days, when they weren't feeling so exuberant and when they weren't feeling so happy, than they did on a sunny, warm day when life felt like a breeze. Now, research also shows that when we're in a not-so-good mood, we're less likely to inadequately corrupt our memories by incorporating misleading information. Bad moods encourage perseverance. When you already feel great, why push yourself? One academic test says that a person in a more somber mood will try to answer more questions and get more of them right than he or she will when feeling cheerful. Up your generosity. Those in negative moods pay more attention to fairness and are more apt to reject unfair offers. Boost your ability to reason. In a study of people with strong political opinions, those who were angry chose to read more articles that opposed their positions instead of practicing confirmation bias. The common tendency to seek out information that supports what we already believe to be true happens more often when we're in a little bit of a down mood. After exploring these contrary views, they were more willing to change their minds. It seems that anger produces a nail the opposition mentality that encourages us to explore what the other guy has to say in order to tear it down, ironically leaving the door open to being persuaded. So knowing all of that, take your bad mood in stride. It has its upside. There is an upside to a down mood. Well, like, subscribe, think for yourself. This is a Mirror Logic channel.